Hello, this is Griff. Check out my shirt. It's Northeastern Bees and Wasp, or Northeastern Wasp, and I live in the West, the Pacific Northwest, the bottom of the Pacific Northwest. But I still love the shirt. It's weird when I wear it in public. Women are always like, "Oh, I love your shirt," and men are always like, "Nice little bee shirt." But I'm gonna rock it anyways because today I'm talking about insects and one of my favorite trees. But today I'm gonna talk about madrone trees. They get really big, but I'm gonna show you a couple small ones just because they're close up and not surrounded by poison oak. But this is a madrone tree. They are beautiful. They have orangish red bark that's exfoliating. And if you take this bark and you boil it, it makes a tea that's kind of plain, so it needs some love or sugar or something, but it's still cool to drink, bark tea. And they have very thin bark. Why it exfoliates like that, I'm not sure. Some people say it's because it prevents vines from growing on it, and maybe in the past it was more vinylicious than it is today, and so they got this adaptation so vines didn't totally shade them out or pull them down. But madrones are super cool plants. Look at these bite marks in them. That's a good sign, okay? Because that means this tree is being utilized by insects, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But before I get there, this makes a wonderful flower. They get great fruits in the tops of the trees. They're big red fruits. They're edible. The band-tailed pigeons around here, which are the native pigeon related to passenger pigeons, eat them all the time. This is just a really cool tree, madrone tree. But today I want to you to use your imagination today. I want you to imagine that you're a little tiny caterpillar. And I mean tiny, like smaller than a maggot. Oh, I shouldn't use that. It's bad association. Smaller than a grain of rice, delicious grain of rice. And your mom is a little tiny moth, and she laid you on a madrone tree. And she will only lay you on madrone trees, maybe manzanitas, which are close relatives, but we're not sure. But it might only be madrone trees. So if someone cut down all the madrone trees, you're out of luck. The little egg that you are won't be getting laid, okay? So your little tiny defenseless egg, and she lays you on a leaf, and you're kind of camouflaged, so it's all cool right now. But then you become a little caterpillar. Okay, now lots of things eat caterpillars. 96% of songbirds eat caterpillars. Caterpillars is a preferred food, okay? Because imagine if you're a mama bird and you got to stuff something down your baby's throat. You don't want it to have spines and legs, and you want it to be like a little sausage, okay? And that's what caterpillars are. So you're a little caterpillar, and it's not just birds that want you. There are thousands of species of insects, predators that want to eat you too, okay? Thousands of them. And so it's really hard to get away with them. So caterpillars have all these interesting defense mechanisms. Like hairy caterpillars are so they're hard for birds to swallow. And, you know, there's a bunch of different defense. Sometimes caterpillars call ants to them, like you'll notice in my earlier YouTube video, and the ants will protect them, guard them. But some caterpillars use a different strategy. And it's not just caterpillars that use this strategy, but we're going to talk about the madrone leaf miner moth. So see this leaf? See all those little trails through it? I know y'all have seen this before. There's lots of insects that do this. And if you know what kind of plant it is and you see these trails, there's a good chance you could figure out which kind of insect did it, because insects are loyal to plants. Like 95% of insects are loyal to a certain type of plant that they evolved with. Because all plants have like a poison, so you have to insects, because if they didn't, they just get eaten up. So some insects evolved for them. So when you see stuff like this on your leaf, on your leaves in your yard, unless it's an invasive insect that didn't evolve here, but if it's then you might have a problem. But if it's a native insect, let it have some of these leaves. Let it have it, okay? Because these are caterpillars and going to turn into moths, and that's like feeding the birds and everything else. So just let this happen. Don't run to a big box store and get poisoned. This is an interesting story. Look how interesting this is. Now see how the trail starts off narrow. Oh, I wish I had something to point with here. But if you look like right here where my middle finger is, oh, thank goodness my fingernails are clean this time. See how small that is? And then it gets wider and wider as the insect goes. And that's because it's eating. Now, it's in between the leaf skin. So like in your finger, you have skin on top, skin on the bottom, and blood and bones in between. It's the same with leaves. They have skin on the top, skin on the bottom. It's called cuticles. Leaf skin is called cuticle. And in between there is this cool, delicious cells called mesophyll, and that's what the baby moth caterpillar is eating. So it's really small. See how small it is? And it's going around there. Why? because it's protected in here. There's so many parasitic moths that want to lay eggs in caterpillars. There's birds that want to eat caterpillars. There's assassin bugs. There's all kinds of stuff. Ladybug beetles, larvae. And so this protects it. This helps keep it safe, okay, by being in there. And then it comes out. It's a really tiny moth, and I'm going to show you in a minute. But before I get there, I just want to say that this is cool. This is not bad. This is a story. If you have this in your yard, bring your friends out there and go, look at this, blah, blah, blah. Figure out what kind. You can get iNaturalist app, take a picture of this, upload it, get a good clue, because it'll say, what did you see? And you can press that and get a good clue of what it is. And then you could look at the picture of it, print the picture out, show your friends, like, this moss baby did this. And now it's flying away, and it's going to become bird food or something cool. So very, very interesting. Madrone leaf miner insect. Let's go see what they look like on calscape.org, which is one of my favorite websites in California, because it tells you what native plants to plant to get certain insects to support the birds. If you don't live in California, go to Native Plant Finder and enter your zip code, and it could come up with something similar, okay? calscape.org and Native Plant Finder.